Welcome to Pario Magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I'm joined by someone who, alongside her faction, is quickly becoming a dominant force in Australian wrestling, whilst also shining a spotlight on her cultural heritage. Welcome to Pario Magazine, Eugenie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So, we're here today to chat about your journey entering into the world of pro wrestling. Before we dive into that, though, do you want to give our audience a brief little intro as to who Eugenie is away from the wrestling ring?
Yeah, sure. I It's not too far away from what you see in the ring, but I guess you would. Everybody knows me as Eugenie. I am a scientist in real life, and try to stay involved in wrestling in any way possible here in the Brisbane scene. Um, Catch me with my family all the time, or out in nature, enjoying the beach or the forest.
What sort of science are you studying or
I work
working in?
in agriculture science and biotechnology.
Oh, wow. I feel very dumb right now.
No, don't say that. Do not say that. Not at all.
So then, how did you go from obviously you studied for science, and then how did you then pivot and go into this wrestling world?
Yeah, I love this question. I always loved wrestling, so I always had a plan that I had to, and it was always pushed on me that you need to study growing up. So I always had the focus to want to do studying, to get educated. But then with that, knowing that eventually at some point when the time was right, I was going to make my way into pro wrestling, and see whether the passion and love and interest for it was something that I would enjoy, and wouldn't know that until eventually when the time came. But I always had the plans to make my way over to pro wrestling when the time was right.
Yeah, it's probably the best way to do it. Have a nice solid foundation before you go into the crazy world of wrestling.
Very much, yeah, very much. I think I'm definitely grateful that I've had the opportunity to pursue both worlds.
And where did you sort of develop that passion? Was it family that were interested in wrestling and that's how you first found it, or did you find it another way?
Definitely through family. I have very strong memories as a kid, uh, sitting around the TV every week with my cousins, brothers, all of us watching SmackDown and Raw, and just sitting there as like a 7-year old kid and thinking, hey, this is like the coolest thing ever. Like, and then all of us having wrestling matches with each other afterwards. There'd be times when all of the cousins were put together at family vacations and we're all kids and everybody's just wrestling, and everybody's getting in trouble because we're causing a ruckus and making a mess at wherever it is that we're all staying on holidays. So um, that's really where the first love of wrestling came about.
Okay. And then what was it that inspired you to then begin the training once you had your life sort of established and then you decided to dive in?
I think there were multiple, I guess, things that inspired me to want to start training. I initially, before starting wrestling, I started off with boxing, and then I made my way over to Thai boxing, where I did that for 5 years. And as I was doing that, I was sort of, the itch for pro wrestling still hadn't gone away. And then as I continued to watch wrestling through all that time and started to watch on YouTube, like the tryouts that they put up on YouTube, and just seeing what they do behind the scenes for training, I sort of thought, no, okay, like it's enough now. I just have to go there and give it a shot. I've got nothing to lose. Just got to go there and give it a shot and see what happens. And that sort of was the big kicker for me to rip the band-aid off and just make my way into trying it, doing a tryout.
Awesome. And obviously the tryout went well, but I imagine there's been some sort of challenges along the way. What would you say has been the most difficult part of this wrestling journey?
Yeah, I think when I got injured, that was probably the hardest. That was would have been the most difficult part for me. I had a big knee injury 2 years ago, which saw me have to take time out for 2 years from wrestling, just in the midst of like going through the process of training as a rookie, then fortunately having my debut, and then after my first singles debut, I then tore my ACL and MCL, and yeah, just had to go through that process of going through the surgery, rehab, and making the recovery back to eventually getting myself back in the ring.
Yeah, I can imagine that would have been really difficult when it's the ball has just started to get rolling and then all of a sudden it's altered.
Yeah, it was something else. Never felt it's yeah. I think with injuries in sport are always normal. I think going through an ACL as a like both as a rookie and on the indie circuit, it's quite a process and journey to go through in the form of just going through the surgery, going through the rehab, learning how to walk again, and then you're going through the motions of are you even ever going to get a chance to get back in the ring. It's like a whole process just to learn how to jump again. And it's just the constant mental battle. But I've been super fortunate that I've had great medical advice around me to help me navigate my way back into pro wrestling because it's such a unusual uh, sport to tell physios, hey,
Mhm.
this is what I want to get back into. It's much more simpler. There's tons of uh, research out there for rugby players and soccer players who have torn their ACLs. So the constant have to assess, reassess, modify to get myself back in there and be the person that has to go through that was definitely, yeah, it was a difficult journey, but we got there. So
Yeah, it's not a quick, "Oh, the injury's, like, healed up now, I'm back and ready to go." It's a long, drawn out process, and, yeah, you mentioned that mental battle of, "Oh, I injured my knee on probably something quite innocuous. Is it going to happen again?"
yeah, exactly. I up and overs mistimed up and over led to a mislanding, and yeah, the first time having to like get over that hurdle when I eventually did get back in the ring to do an up and over, and even just to make sure that somebody gets underneath me was yeah, was its own first, was one of the first hurdles of many, but we got there. So thankfully, yeah, difficult but rewarding in the end.
Yeah, it's always the most simple thing where people get the worst injuries. It's never the
Yeah.
big, crazy, off the top of a ladder bump or something. It's, just something you do every single match.
Yeah, completely. I've done crazier stuff inside the ring at training. So for an up and over to be the one that got me tangled up and something snapping was just a shocking like moment to realize that that is possible.
And then in terms of your character, you mentioned it's very similar to you outside of the wrestling ring. Where do you draw the main source of inspiration from?
Yeah, great question. I think I harbor all the aspects that I find I am as a person. Coming from quite a like mixed martial art background, so using all the striker and submission techniques that I've learned over the years, and then coming from just a family that is quite strong, and powerful, utilizing that strength to do powerhouse things, whether and then also just tying into like my heritage and looking at I'm very fortunate to be a Pacific Islander, so I have this is such a already well established uh, array of things that Pacific Islanders can pull from in pro wrestling. So whether that's the Samoan drop, and then as time goes on, changing up and adding new things. But then other inspirations as well come from like I always enjoyed watching Eddie Guerrero growing up, and then also Samoa Joe. I think He's just wildly talented in the ring, and Daniel Bryan as well.
Mhm.
And then looking at like performance wise, I love, and also gear wise, I always look at Beyonce Knowles. So I try to add a bit
Very
of
good.
variety.
Very good inspirations here.
Yeah, can't go wrong with looking at Beyonce Knowles. She's just got such a presence, and a lot of what she wears. Being somebody that just loves fashion and loves shimmer and glitter and all of that, trying to find a way to tie that in with what I do is definitely one of my strong inspirational suits.
Very nice. And you mentioned sort of the Pacific Islander heritage. Obviously, in wrestling at the moment, the big thing is the bloodline is a massive part of WWE's storytelling at the moment. Were were those sort of people inspirations for you growing up watching wrestling?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody in my family could impersonate The Rock. You know, we love snooker. Uh, Seeing Tamika do something that was awesome, and then Rikishi, like I definitely always gravitated to watching them, learning what they did, and yeah, you'd always see absolutely one of my brothers or my cousins doing impersonations of them, which just says a lot.
And how special is it for you now to be able to sort of embrace that heritage and showcase your heritage through wrestling?
I feel very privileged to be able to represent my culture. Take a little bit of my heritage and put it out there on the main stage. I think growing up, especially as a female, there wasn't too much in my area of interest that I got to look up to, and so I sort of hope that through everything that I get to do, within like reason, like my heritage, we, you don't see that many wanting to pursue pro wrestling. And so having that example or trying to set that example is important to me, but also just I have grown up proudly Fijian, so being able to carry that with me wherever I go through everything that I do is very important, um, and brings me a lot of joy.
And how do your brothers and cousins feel about you being in wrestling now? Do they sort of look at it and be like, oh, why didn't we do this as well?
I think what depends who you ask. Some brothers will say, I'm pretty sure I can do a better job than you, Jeannie. Like, you're okay. You're good. You're not better than me. But yeah, no, I think everybody's just been so encouraging. Initially, when I had told everybody that, hey, I'm pro wrestling now, um, they were like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, and I also have my debut coming up soon, and they're like, wait, what? So, um, yeah, they've just been so encouraging, and everybody says it's really awesome and really cool to see, and especially because for a lot of Islanders, you grew up watching wrestling. All of us. There's very rarely anybody that I ever speak to and they never watched it growing up. So yeah, when they're like, "Wow, you're actually doing it," that's pretty cool. So yeah, even if I am the wrestler in the family, doesn't stop anybody from coming from behind and trying to do a rear naked chokehold while I'm trying to, just do a simple task, drink my water,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Does this feel like it's gonna choke you out?" And I'm like, "Kind of."
Yeah. Kind of a little bit too serious here, guys. Calm down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's just listen this up. I just want to drink my water.
But yeah, for any of those relatives who are saying they could do a better job, step into the ring and see what she can do.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I've had an open fight challenge. Not one of them has stepped into the ring. They're all on the outside.
And as part of sort of embracing this culture, you've established your faction known as Culture. How did that group all come about?
So last year, initially, Moko had seen Toa at training, and Toa, I would say, is the fastest rising wrestler here in the Queensland scene. Just such a natural talent in the ring, amazing presence, and so initially I'd seen him training, and then I'd known Moko 3 years ago when we both were going, like when we were both learning, and then I would have stepped away when I got injured, and then he, he continued, and has teared up the scene and created such a incredible reputation for himself. And as he continued, and then he made his way over to Impact Pro Wrestling last year to wrestle there. He was having a chat with both with Toa and I, and then had sort of said, "Hey, what do you guys think about forming a faction?" Because we'd already, we all get along really well. A lot of everything that we do is quite similar, and then that's sort of how it just drew up. It was like, "Hey, why don't we work together?" The three of us, we've got, there's just so many things there that are so common, and that work really well. And it's just taken off and been a success ever since.
Have you enjoyed sort of sharing that wrestling journey with those two guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. I think it's just been easily one of the best additions to wrestling in my personal portfolio, or just like in everything that I do. We have a really great time outside of the ring and a really good time inside the ring. We all push each other, and then we get to have fun on the roads. And it's just, I can't put it into words enough how much it's just been a lot of joy and fun for the three of us to help lift each other up, push each other, and share the wrestling world with each other, because we all come from very different backgrounds with different levels of experience, and sort of helped each other mold into becoming better and stronger as a unit together.
And I guess it sort of opens you up creatively as well because you have two other people to bounce ideas off. And even in promos, it's not just you by yourself now. You've got different voices, different character types to portray in those promos.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, definitely. I think just finding a way for us to stay true to who we are individually as characters, but then at the same time find a way to enhance our characters with the three of us together, has just happened so naturally. It's not forced, and I think that shows when we go out and do stuff together. And it's just been a lot of, yeah, like I've just really enjoyed it. And I hope the boys can say the same thing.
Yep. So then
Yeah.
the group has been making waves in Queensland, and now you're making waves individually down here in New South Wales as well. What other goals are on the horizon in 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, I hope to, as a group, continue to take over as much as possible wherever possible, and the same for me as an individual. I, truly hope to travel more around the country, bring power and presence to wherever it is that I go, and continue to carry both everything that I represent, and hopefully, and the boys get to do the same thing as well. So I
Yep.
think that's go everywhere. That's it.
Very nice.
So start with Sydney
And yeah,
this
just
week.
continue sort of collecting titles because you and Toa both have IPW belts. The boys just got the Wide Bay tag titles as well.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you've got title challenges here in New South Wales. So belts galore for the group as a whole.
yeah. There's definitely some great opportunities on the horizon. So plan is to take advantage of everything with both hands and just go for it.
Brilliant. Alrighty. So finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your creative journey moving forward?
Right now, you can find me on Instagram at E.Ugenie. So that's just Eugenie. And yeah, that would be the best place to find me. But potentially more platforms to come this year.
Perfect. We'll keep an eye out for that. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and good luck with everything in 2024.
Thank you so much. It's really great to chat with you. I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to seeing what the year brings out for both of us, hey?
Wonderful.